Hey, we're one day closer to new comic book day, and that means that it is time for another superhero deep dive. I am your host, Jason, and I want to thank you for tuning in this week. I have a fun show. It's a hero that's not very well known, um, and there's not a lot of information on, so this one might not be, the full half hour. And more than likely it won't be. But it's still going to be a lot of fun. This week I am talking about the DC hero Tasmanian Devil. Um, Before I get into this, I do have to give my normal disclaimers. The information pulled for this superhero is pulled from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete. They do give a really good insight on the current superhero, though, and the reason I don't go like super deep into it, is because I try to keep this under, half an hour, and there's a lot of information out there, like on storylines that they've been in, but they haven't been that pertinent in the storylines. They were just like supporting characters. Um, so I like to get into the meat of the matter. So yeah, and as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, requests, anything like that, critiques, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at the number 4, it all one, and you can use the hashtag superherodeepdive, or you can not catch, you can email me directly at the number 4, it all at yahoo.com. And you can even catch this podcast on YouTube. Just do a search for Superhero Deep Dive, and it should come up. You'll see slideshows of artwork of the character that I found while researching it and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we are going to talk about the Tasmanian Devil. This is not the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes Tasmanian Devil. And apparently every resource I have looked up on the Tasmanian Devil, that's one of the first things they say. So I guess I should have to say it too. So yeah. This is Tasmanian Devil. His real name is Hugh Dawkins. He's Australian. And he can turn into this like supernaturally large and intelligent Tasmanian Devil. Kind of like how a werewolf does. That's his main origin. At one point in time, they floated around a second origin for him, which was absolutely ridiculous. It's really funny. It says he has jokingly been offered, claiming that Hugh's mother was a Tasmanian devil, it's kind of like a werewolf, who raised him in a Tasmanian devil worshipping cult, that gave him a Tasmanian devil amulet after selling his soul to a Tasmanian devil and injecting him with a radioactive Tasmanian devil musk from a race of alien Tasmanian devils, which gave him his powers. So they kind of went through every different kind of superhero origin story that could happen and mixed Tasmanian Devil in it and applied it to him, which is that's awesome. Let's see. It says Hugh Dawkins, as a human, is a pacifist, but as the Tasmanian Devil, he's definitely more aggressive. He's more bestial. He's quick to go into a fight. And I have here that his parents had a hard time with him being the Tasmanian Devil until he saved his father's life. So to me, that kind of it rings true, like with a lot of the mutant stuff that was going around back in the day. Like their parents were trying to like disown their kids, and they couldn't take it. Like I think it was the second X-Men movie, like from the early 2000s, where they met with Iceman's parents, and she's like, well, can you try to be a little bit less of a mutant? Like he can't he can't control that. That's crazy. It's who he is. Um, and in this situation, it's actually genetics. It's his metahuman power. But you know, he's had that. He's had side parts. Like he's been in Justice League International. He's been a reserve member. He's been in a team called the Global Guardians. Like I said, never actually stood out on his own. It's always been kind of like a side character. Um, in 2019, there was a mini series called Justice League Cry for Justice. And what it was is it was a story about a villain named Prometheus. And he had these cameras on his head, and he would record all these superheroes and how they fight and stuff. And it would kind of like download into his suit so he could mimic the fighting style or learn how to counter it. Kind of like Taskmaster, only not as cool because he had these little cameras on the side of his head. But he was kind of ruthless. But in this series, it was shown that Tasmanian Devil was skinned and his pelt was made into a rug. So that's just nuts. It's later revealed that he was put into a stasis pod, and he has a healing factor. So his healing factor was helping him, and he was later thrown into a Lazarus pit by one of the guys that calls himself Starman. But Starman has like multiple identities. Like there's been quite a few people, and one of them put him in a Lazarus pit to revive him. So that's just nuts. Can you imagine like sitting by the fire, putting your feet up, reading a book, while the Tasmanian Devil's skin is just laying there underneath your feet? That is nuts. That is how little he was respected in this. Like, they turned him into a rug. So, his power set. Let's get into that. Hugh Dawkins can turn into a large Tasmanian Devil. And in this form, he has super strength, claws, a healing factor. He's got fangs that he rips through things with. So he becomes, it's basically like the Beast, from X-Men lore. And I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to throw in a fun fact. In 1992, in Justice League Quarterly number 8, he came out as being openly gay. This is awesome, as this is in 1992. So you got to remember, people were still using a lot of terms that they can't use nowadays in the 2020s, to describe gay people. And he was openly gay. They made this character openly gay. Granted, they also turned him into a rug, but they made him openly gay. So it's cool. His relationships. He has had a romantic interest in the Justice League of America liaison, Joshua Barbizon. He had a crush on Hal Jordan, so he liked the Green Lantern stuff. And he is actually dating the Starman that put him in the Lazarus pit. So, there you go. It's pretty cool. It's an interesting story, right? He's this guy. He's Australian, which probably helped trigger his metahuman power, because Australia is not known for being the safest of areas as far as like wildlife and things that will randomly come up and kill you. So, let's just be glad he wasn't made into a giant koala bear, right? So, yeah, he's just Tasmanian Devil, runs around, and I don't think he spins around like the one in the Looney Tunes, but that would have been funny if they did. If they did that for him, that I would have had a good laugh over it. But yeah, so they gave him kind of like a werewolf type story. In fact, there was one story arc where it was him and a couple other um, superheroes, and they were looking and trying to solve some murders in London. And all I could think about was that song, like, "Ow, Werewolf of London." That's all I could think about during it. So I couldn't even take that part seriously because it's just how they have them. But he's all muscle. He's all muscle and animal ferocity. So I think it's pretty cool overall. Um, haven't seen him in many things. So in fact, I vaguely remember him from a Justice League International comic book, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna. When I was researching Crimson Fox, I saw a picture of him in the background with it, and I was like, I remember this dude. Let's see what else there is, and it turns out there wasn't much left. So here we are. Um, we're gonna get into the power expansions in just a second. Before I do, I want to just remind everyone, you can always drop me a line on Twitter at b4it all1 and use the hashtag superherodeepdive. You can also email me at b4it all@yahoo.com. And if you like this podcast, I am part of the Talk Nerdy to Me network. We also have a big podcast that comes out on Tuesday nights on Twitch. It's live. It's called Friends with Benefits. It's my friends Chris and Chris. They run the podcast, and they are on Twitch at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They do about an hour-long show. They interact with people via chat, and then that's also listed Wednesday mornings wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So check them out too. Um, so yeah, let's do power expansions, and then I'll have like one more quick announcement, which will be pretty fun. Um, with this guy, he's always been that background character and things. He's kind of taken a very left standing, very far left standing, and I'm not talking politically. I'm talking about just like he's been off to the side in stories. So I'd love to see him come into his own with something like a horror themed movie or a horror themed comic. Like, we have connections to Batman with the Lazarus Pit, and Prometheus was, I believe, he was featured in the Batman comics. If not, Batman has definitely fought him many times. So, there is that kind of Batman connection. So, so let's take that fact and the fact that he was skinned and made into a freaking rug, coupled with the fact that the Lazarus Pit is known um, to mess with people's minds, and this is established in the comics, in the animated series, the animated movies, everywhere that there's a Lazarus Pit, even in the Arrowverse, like it's pretty canon that one of the side effects is you're going to lose your freaking mind if you go into the Lazarus Pit. So let's take all that and kind of bundled it up, and we'll expand on it, kind of blow it up like a bubble, like bubble gum. We'll chew it up and blow a nice big bubble out of it. Um, let's have him come from the Lazarus Pit, and his mind is just screwed up. Okay. Um, no, he can be in Australia. I'd love to see him in Gotham with this, but let's wherever. But he could go on a rampage as the Tasmanian Devil. Um, and because he was skinned, and that's just such an emotional trauma. I can't even imagine it. I mean, we see people cry when they get their hair cut, in a bad way. This dude was skinned and made into a rug. So, let's have his pacifist side, the Hugh Dawkins, actually kind of start planning some of these things to do. He's basically planning these rampages. And then, the Tasmanian Devil's like the gun, and Hugh Dawkins is just aiming it. So he goes and sets up this plan, like, I'm going to go here, we're going to do this. Morphs into Tasmanian Devil and just wreck shop. I mean, blood everywhere. You know, like, don't leave any real clues, because then he can actually contact some of his superhero friends, or his superhero friends can contact him to, like, hey, do you need help with this thing going on? Especially if it's in Australia. And then he can attack them, and catch them off guard. So he can play into this whole thing. And, like I said, as a super pacifist, people won't think of that. And he can actually secretly plan his next attacks. So, I'd also love to see Tasmanian Devil go through Gotham on a rampage and, like, take out Killer Croc, or run into Bane and throw him around, stuff like that. Just like really, really just show that bestial nature that people wouldn't expect. And then have Batman have to try to take him down or something. Or, like I said, we can keep him in Australia. And have to get the League to bring him down because he's on a rampage. We know that the Lazarus Pit messes with people. So what if, because he transforms into this Tasmanian Devil character, I think there's a little bit of leeway to say that, what if the Lazarus Pit augments his strength too. So now he's, like, really overpowered. His claws are extra sharp and extra durable. Basically, let's give him rabies. Let's give him the comic book equivalent of rabies. To where maybe he just runs with it and becomes like a major villain at this point. Because it's damn sure more exposure than he gets as a hero. But let's say that. Let's say he's got to battle that inner demon of himself to control it, to be a better hero and represent Australia. I don't know. We can go from there. What do you guys think? Where should we go with this? Because I think that I love the power expansions because they can help tap into some potential. And I think that, we can always feed off of it and do more. So, what do you guys think? I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to think about this, what you have to say. Let me know, relay it back to me, and we can discuss it further. I would love to actually have it become a topic one day where we can actually kind of revisit some of these and go back and forth for a future show. But yeah, that's all I've really got for this one. I do have a fun announcement. Next week, I am planning on doing Firestar from Marvel fame. She's always been one of my favorite female heroes because she's just had such a weird history with her. But also, in a couple weeks, I should be having he's kind of like a local celebrity here in Virginia, where he's a recording artist. He owns an entertainment company, like in my town of Roanoke, Virginia. And he also just recently opened this massive comic book shop. He's a huge comic fan. We're going to do a superhero deep dive together. He's going to be a special guest, kind of like how I had my son on a week or so ago. And I had my daughter Jubilee on for the Jubilee episode. We're going to be covering one for him. And we might be even expanding into that because his brother helps run the comic shop with him. So we're going to get him in down the road as another guest. And maybe we can open this up to other things. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get all that done and set up and recorded so I can air it for you guys. In the meantime, everyone be blessed, be happy, be safe, be smart. And if you're not smart, don't get caught. All right? Everyone be good. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.